what it takes to actually increase your property value. Hi, I'm Jaryd Krause.
And I'm Sam Power. And we're the hosts of Property Pals Australia. And in this episode, we're going to be discussing why researching markets before renovating can save you thousands and even tens of thousands of dollars.
We're also going to be talking about what type of renos will actually net you the best ROI versus ones that maybe won't.
Yeah. And also how to actually use real estate agents to your advantage during this process when looking at renovating your property.
Then we move on to talking about the importance of running a cash flow analysis to see how much money your reno could actually make you.
And finally, we talk about some really key points. So like listen on in. It's all about the underlying hidden costs that most renovators forget to account for, which could actually deem a renovation not worth it. And look, before we actually get stuck into the episode, I wanted to tell you that this podcast is not the only way we can help you for free. We have our How to Maximize Your Borrowing Capacity mini course on our website. So head to propertypals.au/resources and use this tool to buy a superior asset and achieve a better ROI and help support the pod.
Welcome to Property Pals, the podcast where we share everything around how to build a property portfolio, from researching areas, financing, structuring, buying, selling, and reinvesting to live a life of financial independence. As a disclaimer, any information shared by myself, Jaryd, Sam, and the Property Pals team is strictly general and should not be taken as constituting professional advice. You should consider seeking independent legal, financial, and taxation advice from a qualified professional. All right, how to double your money through renovations.
Oh, clickbait.
Very clickbaity.
But it's possible. So, listen.
Yeah, so this is something that my biggest question is, when you're going to double your money through renovations, like how long does it take to double your money through some renos? Like, is it like as soon as you make the renovation, or is it, do you have to wait for the market to catch up to the renovation you've done? Like, what's the,
like everything, there's always cases within cases, and that's what we want to talk about, is how it is possible and how you can actually do it. But there's some key fundamental points that you need to go through before you get to that point of doubling your money, essentially. But it happens once you finish your renovations, essentially. It's when buyers walk through properties, they obviously like to have a nice feel about the place. So it depends on the property. There's also people that are really keen on just renovating projects, and I've actually found that those original houses actually sell for a premium because people want to put their own, piece of love into the property, their own the design flair. So, which is interesting because they might pay $1 million for this original house, and the renovation, if you actually break it down, which they may not have, could be $200,000 renovation. But renovated properties in the area are selling for $1.2 million. Yeah. So you're like, there's no profit in it. You're going to waste 12 months of your life doing this. So what's the point?
So it brings us to our first thing that we need to mention.
Oh, research the market. Yeah.
Yeah, research the market. So like, I was thinking, I'm going to do a reno, like I could overspend and I could maybe underspend. So what do we need to do when we're researching the market? We're looking at other properties and seeing what's selling and what's not selling, like in terms of what reno, like, because sometimes, like, if I have the ideology that like this dwelling needs another floor, or this house needs another floor as a renovation, and I'm going to open up and get a lot more floor space, families in the area might not actually need that, right?
Yeah. So step one is you research the market, look at properties that are selling that are like your property. So you have a gauge of what you're actually dealing with, and that's your base case. And then you go through and you look at, well, what do you want to do with the property? Where do you perceive value to lie, and what you want to create in this renovation? Then go and find similar properties that look like what you want to create, and that way you're going to have two different price brackets. Then you got to go through and go, well, how much is it going to cost me to get to that point? and your profits what's left over.
There's probably a key distinction of like what if I own a property and I was going to do a renovation on it. There should be probably a key distinction of like what I want the property to look like versus what the market wants the property to look like, right? Because I'm doing this to double my money, and the person that's going to give me the money is the person that's going to buy it, rather than me going, oh, I like it this way and I want it this way. But are you doing it for you, or you're doing it to double your money to sell to the market?
Yes, that's actually a really good point, my friend. People, you have your own concepts of what you know and like, but if you're doing this to sell, you need to appease to the mass market, because that way you're going to get more eyes on your property. With more eyes becomes more competition, and that increases value because there's obviously higher demand. So try to stay away from purple colours. That's tip one.
People don't buy purple.
No, just keep it simple. Also, there's a great tip is actually to go into display homes in your local area of housing estates that are close by, and just see what those styles are at the time. You can get pretty caught up in all the new appliances and all that, but stick away from that. You want to appeal to the broad market and keep your costs reasonably low. You're there to obviously try and make a profit out of it. It also depends on what your end goal is. Are you renovating to sell? Are you renovating to rent? Are you renovating to live? That's regardless. You need to do the same exercise of understanding what your property's worth and what it could be worth at the end of it, because you don't want to go through all this process, all this time for it to not be a profitable exercise, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, so when you're doing, like when you're going to look at display homes, I guess you're looking at how many bedrooms it has, how many bathrooms it has, also probably the color scheming and like the overall like setting of it, like what, like, are they using woods, are they using granites like for bench tops, and what sort of cabinets are they using, I guess, for kitchen and bathroom. What else like should we be thinking about when we're doing research on properties in the area? So like, say we're not going to go to display homes, like say we want to renovate a property because we want to sell it. Should we be looking at properties that are on the market and seeing how much they listed for and or have sold for and what they look like?
Yeah. Also lean on your local professionals. Like if you're selling, go and talk to real estate agents. Obviously, a part of what we do is finding the best agents in areas to help you sell properties. But either way, I always go through a 3-agent process. So interviewing 3 people, getting them through the house, getting their opinion, and that's going to help you form your thesis over time. Another key part is like you need to know what your property is and what you can do with it.
Yeah.
There's a few different areas of properties that like you might have this grand vision, but the flow of the property, the floor plan might not actually warrant that as a possibility without you putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into it.
Yeah. I guess from speaking to agents would probably give you a good idea of like what your property, where it's at now, how much it would be worth, and then if you were to make some renovations based on what the market wants in that area, what your property could be worth if you had to make those renovations, which I guess would give you a bit of an understanding of like ROI, because then you could do a quick, paper napkin, cost benefit analysis of how much your property would sell for if you made those renovations, minus what those renovations would actually cost you, and then work out your profit margin after selling it, selling costs as well, right?
Yeah. And the agents, look, they're friendly. They want the listing. They want to give you the best advice they can at that point. They might even say, look, there's no real margin in this to do it. It might just be all you need is to paint and do flooring. So there's some key elements which you need. We will touch on now, which is what actually doubles your money. Because I'm going to tell you, if you're going to go in and put a pool in, as an example, yes, it adds value, but if it's a simple process of getting a few quotes for a pool, which range between 30 and 50 grand for a standard house, it's really going to add 30 to 50 grand. Because some people might want a pool, some people might not. If you've got the space to do it, you can obviously go and pitch that and say, look, you can get this pool added. And even from a seller's point of view, if someone really, really wants a pool, you can just actually go, all right, well, we'll subject the sale to putting a pool in.
Yeah. And the cost of the pool will be the cost of what they're going to pay, because it's going to be the same value add to the property, roughly, right?
Yeah, because the benefit of obviously having if you really want a pool, you can do that. It's a negotiation between the buyer and the seller. Is the buyer, say you go and buy $1 million home. I like round figures, as people have started to realise. Simple mind. They can actually buy that pool, that house for $1,050,000 with the pool, and they're using the bank's money to pay for it. Whereas if they were to do it themselves, they put all their deposit in to buy that $1 million house. Now they need to go and save $50,000 to put a pool in. So that might take them a year or 2 years, whereas they can have it now.
Good point.
So
pool may not actually be worth it. So what are the highest ROI sort of renovations that are cheap for how much value it's going to add to the property?
For me, it's paint and flooring is number one. One and two. You just walk into houses, the fresh coat of paint. You obviously get, when you're doing the paint jobs too, they do crack concealers, so it freshens the place up. It helps, especially with carpets and on new flooring. It helps to remove that any odors that might be in that property. It gives it that sort of like fresh looking smell. It hides any, I guess, imperfections or cracks or holes in the wall, and then any stains on your carpet. Like it definitely gives it that nicer, I could move into this and this is a lovely feeling. You're pulling on those emotional heartstrings. Not everyone wants to go through and have to organise trades, because it can be painful. I'm doing one at the moment. This is why it's a very topical subject. And look, it's not the hardest thing in the world. It's just time consuming and sometimes frustrating when you get 3 different quotes that range between $8,000 and $11,000 and
so that's a good point, right? Guys, when you work out what renovations you are going to do, like say if you're like, all right, cool, I want to do some paint and I want to do some flooring and maybe update some lighting and stuff, because I guess lighting is probably a pretty helpful one, like especially when somebody walks into a property, having a well-lit property, in my opinion, that's what I look for first thing. And then getting quotes, like some people might charge you more than another one, and that can really bring your ROI from a reno down if you're going to be overcharged. So do your cost benefit analysis and research on multiple different tradies, I guess. So painting and flooring, kitchens,
bathrooms.
So painting and flooring is relatively cheap, right? Like I guess we won't date the podcast by giving figures, but
one, you could probably paint the place yourself for maybe $1,000.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do that because I'm a rubbish painter. But you're probably getting quotes between 5 and 10 to do an internal paint job.
And then when it comes to bathroom and kitchen renos, that can really get up there, right?
Yeah, minimum $10,000 for bathrooms. Kitchens, you're looking like, obviously. There's always plus, right? Like, it depends on what you're doing. Like, from a investment perspective, renovations, you can just pull out the vanity and then change the shower. There's some cosmetic things you can do, like the shower screens, new vanity, new mirror, paint, replace tapware.
Yeah,
keep it simple. It freshens it up, modernizes it a little bit, and even to sell, it helps on that front. It's just that you got to know your budget going into it. And you've got to allocate the funds towards the most beneficial. So for me, the most beneficial always comes with paint, and then flooring, replacing like handles and tapware modernises that, and lighting is important. Kitchens can, so a renovation I'm doing down in Adelaide at the moment, there's the kitchen's original, and I can go and spend an extra $20,000 to redo the whole kitchen, minimum. And then I'm like, well, what's the benefit of that? Will I get another $40,000 out of that? And in my mind, I was like, yeah, I probably would, but from an allocation of funds for the renovation, then that's putting me into a much higher total bracket. And the way that I was looking at the property is that
You mean it'd be the bracket of the price of the property would be you're in a different bracket.
Yeah, so you understand the market that you're in. So for me, like the sale price is over, say, 750 is just going to be difficult to achieve.
So less people in that market for that size property in that area.
Yeah, there's more between that 550 and probably 750 range.
So it means you most likely have the property on less days on market on the lower bracket than the bracket that would be in if you did a kitchen rental.
Well, the place is functional. The kitchen's functional, so people can come in. I mean, the market is still pretty hot there, so they can buy the property, live in it straight away, and also they can put their own special touch to it. They're going, well, this is our forever home. If some people might walk in and go, well, I don't yes, it's a new kitchen, but I don't really like that new kitchen now, and there's no point in me ripping it out because it's brand new.
Yeah.
So you could lose a bit of money on that front. So I made the decision to not do the kitchen. One, because it's an overcapitalisation when you take into account the budget to do the renovation, and two, it's just the price point's it's just not there, in my opinion. Anyway, I might be wrong, but I'd rather not spend the money and then take a little bit less on the way out than spend the money and not get anything back, essentially.
Yeah. Question: why are you renovating this property? Are you going to sell it or are you going to increase rent?
I'm assessing my options, to be fair. So the strategy going in was it's a 3-bed, 2-bath with 3 living areas, and the dining room is kind of redundant. It's one of those 1988 builds.
So it could be another bedroom?
Yeah, so I've converted it into a 4th bedroom.
Great.
And so it's pretty simple. It already had the window in place, so I did a built-in wardrobe and
a door.
The door. So it's a legit 4th bedroom now. So then you can market it as a 4th bedroom to increase your rents.
Mm-hmm.
Alternatively, I'll see where those funds are at, because I bought into that market a number of years ago. It's grown really strong to a point where there's other opportunities that are obviously in the industry that I'm in that I can see greater value in increasing my, profit over the time of my portfolio. I was originally a strong buy and hold investor, but the more that I'm sort of learning and seeing opportunities come through into my, career that I'm at now, if I can sell down that asset, which is peaking towards, it's seen.
It might not see the same growth in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay,
so
cool.
You're doing you're weighing up your opportunity costs, basically.
Yeah. So I'll get it all done up. And then you see, well, I can definitely increase cash flow, and I can also sell it and make that, realise that profit. I've had it for a number of years, so the capital gains tax is not that. Obviously, it's in the 50% reduction rate, and it's just a way of, diversifying into another project, which there's a few that have been presented to me that are really strong opportunities. So
cool.
You never do what you want, but if you're selling to then put that into cash to sit there and do nothing, then it's kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, you should always, if you're selling an investment, you should be putting in, typically, if your goal is more money and financial independence and growing your wealth, it should go into a higher income earning investment, right?
Yeah, and I'm you also, because I work in this location research and understanding markets. As I said, this market has grown from. I bought it for $485,000. It's gone. Looking at $750 as a sale price, so that's quite a big growth bracket in a 3-year period, and that is, in my mind, I'm looking at the data, and the data is actually showing signs of you're peaking at that high purchase price range. I can divest that and go into other projects where I can have similar growth over a similar period, but I won't get that growth from 750 to say to a mil over the next 3 to 5 years, where I could probably diversify into different asset classes. And it's not for everyone. It's just that because I'm in it every single day and I'm seeing amazing deals coming through, and I'm tracking markets all around Australia and looking at the data, it gives me that, competitive edge. And that's why
definitely
we're pro buyer's agent people.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, congrats on that. It sounds good. We'll have to get another update on that in a few episodes' time or in a year's time, depending on what you do with it. So we went through painting, flooring, we went through kitchens and bathrooms. There's obviously more things that you can do in terms of renovations, like subdividing, dual occupancy, another dwelling,
Yeah, that's
another
good.
floor. Like what's
Yeah,
let's talk about
a
those.
good thing for investors at the moment is looking at the floor plans of their existing houses and
Houses that are for sale in the market or have sold.
either they're on the market or they're existing investments of these people, and they're looking at ways to increase their cash flow. Interest rates have been increasing, and when you're going into that later year of your life, the years of your life, you're looking at ways for cash flow to supplement your lifestyle, so you can retire. So there's the dual occupancy plays where people are actually converting houses into dual occupancy. So you basically can. I look at floor plans and you can actually put a kitchenette in there, seal up that wall, and have two essential occupancies, and you're going to increase your rent. So you might be getting, say, $700 a week out of the property, but you could rent both sides out for $550, $600 each. So then you're looking at $1,200 as opposed to $700. You work your way backwards. If you're investing $50,000 for that, those renovation works, and that's increasing your cash flow by $600.
Yeah.
Then you're like, well,
$600 a week times 52
divided by 50. Let's do those.
Yeah.
Let's do those maths actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can start to see that what else can you do with your money that can increase that, give you that return on investment year on year.
And I guess that's something, we're then moving into dual occupancy, being those sorts of shared dwellings or share houses. And we actually, was at the start of this year, I think it was, we went down to Torquay and we went through one of your friends' houses in Torquay who had, I think it was one dwelling with maybe four self-contained sort of five self-contained units, or self-contained rooms, I guess, with a kitchenette and a bathroom and a bedroom, wardrobe and all that sort of stuff. And she was killing it. So maybe we get her on to talk about the dual occupancies and
So
what do you call those share house things?
You can call them. They're some people call them micro apartments. Other people call them rooming house accommodation. So there's in Queensland, so different states have different rulings. So down in Victoria, in that area, they've got
That's correct.
a 5-room limit. On the Gold Coast, it's a 4-room limit. In Brisbane, it's a 5-room limit. So different local government areas have different rulings against it. You need to have, and that's a whole investment strategy too. That's a cash flow play.
Yeah, and also we're mentioning this in the sense that you guys have gone away and done your research on the area to see if people in the area will actually rent these self-contained units, because I know that if you do this in Palm Beach or Burleigh, people are typically not going to rent it compared to, maybe they will, but compared to, say, Southport on the Gold Coast where close to the university is or something like that, right? So we've got to know the market, if the market wants that before we make the renos. Otherwise, you could be spending a lot of money and not getting an ROI.
Every pod we do, we need to cover this on another pod.
Yeah,
it's a whole investment strategy, and it's an interesting market. I'll just drop a little bit of sugar on that to say, affordability is a massive thing, and there's people that don't actually want to live in a 2-bedroom apartment or a whole 1-bedroom studio and pay $600 a week for it. But if you can offer them a cheaper alternative at $300 for a room, where it gives them a bed, a kitchenette, their own bathroom, it's a lot more attractive. But there are downfalls to the strategy, just like there's pros and cons to everything. So we'll cover that. And if you are interested, leave some comments for us, because it'll help us prioritize. Yeah,
if you've got questions around these types of homes, let us know. So then moving on to subdivisions. This is a pretty cool play if you can do it, right? But I guess you'd want to look at the market again to see if those smaller blocks are selling and how much they're selling for, and how fast they're selling, or how slow they're selling, whether it's worth actually subdividing or not, right?
Yeah, well, it's subdivisions more out of the renovation scope and more into the developer scope.
Yeah.
But yeah, like everything, you do your homework. You don't just buy something thinking you can do something and then going and doing it, because they're the people that, when they go to sell it, they come to realize that, hold on, all that, like, what do you mean I can't sell it for $2 million? You're like, well, obviously you can't, because for $2 million, you probably go down the road and buy something that's amazing. You got to do your due diligence, do your homework, run your cash flows with every renovation or development project.
Yeah, like spot on. Before you do anything, like do your research, like you said. But I also want to like drop in a bit of a caveat on renovations that I think in life there's hidden expenses that people don't count. One of being a stress expense, and renovations, especially if you got kids and a job and a partner, and depending if you're doing it in that home that you're living in, or even if you're doing it with a different like investment property such as yourself, Sam, like it's going to take time and it's going to cost you time, and it's going to cost you maybe some stress or some thought process. So I guess that's something to consider when, like, if you're looking at something like doing a reno that might make you an extra $50,000, and it's going to cost you $25,000 to do that reno, but it's also going to take you 6 months of like frustration with tradies. Is it actually worth it to you? I mean, $25,000 might be for a lot of people. It might not be as well. So it depends on what you're willing to cop.
Yeah, and take into account your time. People, like, that's why I say you need the profit. But
what's your hourly rate?
What's your hourly rate? Yeah, even to get quotes, it's not the hardest thing in the world. There's a great app called High Pages where it actually shoots out what you want to do, and people call you.
Cool.
There's some other really cool apps that I utilize in my day-to-day life with working with clients. But yeah, it is time consuming. You're talking to these people, you're walking them through. It's at least a number of hours to run through even just a simple wardrobe installation with people, and it's, you sit back and go, well, what is that worth? Say you're $200 an hour, that's 5 hours, it's $1,000. Is that what you want to do? Does it light you up? And a lot of people get to that stage where they just say, sell it, I don't care. But then I say, well, what market are you in? That extra little bit at a time could actually make you, another 10 grand on top, and all you got to do is a couple of hours. That's a pretty good hourly rate.
It's a pretty damn good hourly rate. Yeah. Awesome. Anything else you wanted to add to this?
Yeah, houses and units.
There's
a difference there, and it's where to spend your money. So, like, the whole reason how to double your money. The key things, the takeaways for me are paint, flooring. Look at the kitchens. Look at the bathrooms. They sell properties, but also your street appeal or your curb appeal, which we haven't really touched on, which is first impressions last. Just put your common sense hat on. When people open the door from their car, they're walking up to the property that they're wanting to buy. The online marketing photos look amazing, and they're super keen to, drop hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on this property. And then the first look, they look at it and they go, oh, that looks like shit.
Yeah.
And then they're going to go, oh, it's going to be nice inside. So then they've been deceived in a way through savvy marketing campaigns, which is what the agent's supposed to do, is trying to convince you to get in the door.
Typically, that's over-promising and under-delivering, which I would suggest the other way around is probably better.
Yeah, under-promise and over-deliver. That's how I like to run my life as well. But yeah, first impressions. So make sure the lawns are tidied. If there's any paint peeling or any issues on the front of the property, just touch it up. It's not like it's something you can do yourself, or you can get a handyman out there to clean it up. Mulch the gardens. It's simple stuff, but I mean, this is an asset, especially if you're selling it. It's hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, and these couple of $100, a couple of $1,000 can really. It's definitely worth their weight, in my opinion. Those key areas I just mentioned.
Even staging the property, right? Like sometimes your furniture may be a little bit old or whatever it is, like, or you might not have some furniture. I think staging it, like you can rent furniture to make it look like and feel amazing when somebody walks in.
Staging is you're looking probably like $2 to $5 for staging.
Yeah.
For like a 6 weeks period, and yeah, it's painting the picture, and also if you're selling an investment too, then it's tax deduction.
Yeah, painting the picture of what it would look like to live there.
Yeah, as opposed to just a big vacant, empty home.
Yeah.
So the staging that definitely helps. And from what I've seen, it's been obviously a growth trend in the industry for the past 10 years. So it's there for a reason. But I deal with real estate agents, and if the market is so hot, often they'll say, "There's no point. Like I've got that many buyers on this that I don't need to get those emotional heartstrings being pulled, because that's my job as a sales agent, is to get them up and paint that visual picture for them." And then you sit back and go, "Yeah, that's true. I'm paying you money to sell my house, so go and sell it. And do a good job."
Yeah. So speak to those agents before you're going to list it as well, or before you even maybe do the renovations on what needs to be done or not done.
Yeah, well, that's like everything. As we talk about, you don't know what you don't know. And the hardest part is finding people that do, that have your best interest at heart.
That you trust.
Yeah, and then asking those right questions, but knowing what questions to ask. Like, I can't stress that enough, is that even once you've found those types of people, like everyone is busy and everyone wants, to, it's a transaction at the end of the day, but for you, you're the most important person in your world and you need to do what's best for you. So spend that time, do the research, ask the right questions, and talk to the right people.
Love it. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your life.
1 sec.
Oh, Siri.
Siri. So thanks for listening, everybody. We're going to wrap this one up. If you are listening and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I've noticed on YouTube and around the place, all the different platforms, we're getting some subscribers, which is
hey,
awesome.
Look at us go.
We're only on episode 14, so it's cool to see this is growing. I've got some great feedback from people already, people that listen to the pod. So thanks, everybody, for the feedback. If you do have questions, email us at hello@propertypals.au, and we'll speak to you on the next one.
Ciao for now.